Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Dani and today it's time for a book haul. I have 13 books to show you and 5 of them are from my last trip to Indigo, which I've mentioned here I think a bunch of times already. So it had been over a year since I've been physically to a bookstore and I was very excited to finally be able to go, and I bought 5 books there. One of those books were to fulfill a really fun advent calendar prompt that I got from Kelsey. I'm gonna link her channel down in the description. And she asked me to buy the first blue book that I found in the science fiction or fantasy section, and I'm also going to show you how that went. But first, let's start with the books that I got before that trip to Indigo. The first book I already read and I already reviewed in this channel, so I'm not going to get into it a lot, but it's Breach of Peace by Daniel Green. If you don't know him, he's also a YouTuber. I'm going to leave his channel in the description as well. And I bought this book because I was really excited to read it. It's a very short novella. It's the beginning of a series that he's writing, and I'm very excited to continue with the series. This one, it's a fantasy murder mystery, so we follow detectives trying to figure out what happened in a crime scene that they found. I really enjoyed his writing, and I'm very excited to continue with the series when the next one comes out. The next is an arc that I got from the publisher, and it is a middle grade called Children of the Fox, a Thieves of Shadow novel by Kevin Sands. I'm very grateful to have received this by the publisher. I'm really excited to read it and review for you guys. It comes out in October of this year, so I really hope, I don't think there's any reason why I wouldn't be able to read it before it comes out. Like I said, this is a middle grade fantasy that involves a heist. So these 5 kids get together to rob something, I think. It's compared to Nevermore and Ocean's 11. So I'm really excited to see how this goes. Other than that, I don't know much about the plot, but it's about 5 kids with different skills, abilities, and it's a fantasy and it's a heist novel, so I'm excited for it. The next one is also for my advent calendar series. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a whole series that I did in December in which 12 booktubers recommended me 12 books and 12 prompts. So the only book that I was missing for that was The Hound of Death and Other Stories by Agatha Christie. This one was recommended to me by Pauline by Dancing Lone, and I'm really excited to read it because I love Agatha Christie. And it's a book of short stories that are all more of a horror paranormal vibe. I read the first one already and I really enjoyed it. It is the one called The Hound of Death. So I'm really excited to continue with the rest of the book. The next one I'm really excited for because it was gifted to me by Kelsey, and it is a book that I've been anticipating for a long time, since last year, and it is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I honestly don't know much about the plot of this book, but everyone's been raving about it so much, and I've loved everything I read. I've liked some and I loved some of what I read by Matt Haig, so I'm really excited to read this one. And I think it's about, well, a library in which this woman can live different lives, or like explore what would have happened in her life if things had been different in some way. So I'm really curious. I'm really excited to read this book, and I'm so happy that she gifted it to me. I'm really grateful for it. The next one is a whole box set, and it is The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. They're all paperbacks, but they come in this really cool box that is colorful all around. And they're really pretty. I really like how they look. The only complaint that I would have is that the spine has to be broken very fast when you're reading the book. I've already read The Hobbit, and the spine is already really broken, which I don't mind, but I like it when paperbacks are floppy enough that we don't have to break the spine. But if that's the only way to go, I don't mind breaking the spine, but they are very easily going to look used. But I really like this set. I'm buddy reading them with Kelsey. She asked if I wanted to reread The Hobbit in July and then read one of each of the Lord of the Rings in the following months, and I said yes, and that's what we're doing, and I'm excited, but also I have no idea if I'm going to enjoy it, because like I said, Hobbit was a reread, but the Lord of the Rings I've never read, so I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be too slow for me, if I'm going to enjoy it more than I'm expecting. Of course, I've seen the movies, I really love the movies, but we'll see how I feel about the books. So if you want to know about my thoughts on the Lord of the Rings, remember to subscribe to my channel because there is going to be a wrap-up about each of these books, starting with July wrap-up. And that's it for the other books that are not from that trip. So now I'm going to show you a few clips from my trip to Indigo because it was so much fun. It was so nice to be in a physical bookstore. after so much time, and I was really happy about it. And like I said, the idea for the prompt that Kelsey gave me was to buy the first blue book that I found in the science fiction fantasy section, but I had a few rules for myself. She didn't set these rules, but I thought it would be fair to set these rules for myself. So first one, it had to be a book that I don't own or that I haven't read. It couldn't be a sequel to a book that I haven't read yet. It had to be in English. And last but not least, it had to be a reasonable price. So no special editions that would cost me too much money. And no books that cost like $40. That's a lot. So that was one of the things that limited my purchase a little bit, because the first book that I did find was Ready Player 2 in hardcover, and I was really excited for that book to be the first blue book that I saw, but it was $40 and I thought that was just too expensive. So I even saw a paperback there, but it was actually in Spanish. But yeah, so the first one was Ready Player 2, but that's just not happening. I also saw To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, but I already own this book, so I kept walking, I kept looking for another book. And the way that this bookstore is separated, like there are sections that is specifically fantasy and sci-fi, but there are also others that mix a bunch of stuff. So I was focusing on the ones that are exclusively sci-fi or fantasy. And I also found one that's called The Soul of Power, but it is the third in a series. I found one called The Devil You Know, which is very blue in the spine, but the cover is not very blue at all, so I thought it wasn't a really good option. I saw quite a few books that were sequels to other books that I haven't read yet. That was the most that I found, like sequels to books that I haven't read or books that are very, very expensive. I saw Ninth House, which made me very happy. I'm like, this is very, very blue. I really want to read it, especially the paperback, especially. But when I looked at it, looking at it in the camera, it looked very blue. But when I looked at outside of the camera, just like in real life, it was actually more green than blue. The camera is very misleading for that one. It is definitely more green than blue, which made me sad because I really wanted to read Ninth House, but I kept searching. I found one other book that it was the first of a series or a standalone, I don't remember, but I had never heard of it before. It sounded interesting, but it was almost the same price as Ready Player 2, and I didn't think it would be fair to get that one. If it's almost the same price, I might as well pay for Ready Player 2. So I skipped that one. I forgot the name of it, I don't remember, but I kept looking. So I went to YA section after this because YA books are cheaper, and that's when I found the one that I ended up getting. As you can see in the video, the dust jacket of the book is quite damaged, which gave me a really good discount to get it. So there were no paperback options, and the hardcovers are pretty much sold out everywhere, but they had one that was probably returned, I would guess. But because it was very damaged, I got a very good discount, so it was a great price for me to get it, and it is very, very blue. So I definitely think that was the best option that I could go for from what I was looking. And you might see in the video, even when I was rewatching it, I saw that there were many other blue books that I could have picked, but I was really just going by what was catching my eye at the moment. So I skipped quite a few that I didn't notice at the time. I was also very focused on trying to film and trying to find the book at the same time. So I definitely skipped some that could be options, but I promised that I was going for like the ones that was grabbing my eyes. So maybe even I saw something first, and as I was bringing the camera to what I saw, I passed through other blue books, but that was the one that I saw first, if that makes sense. I tried, I didn't cheat, but I had to go through quite a few books to find one that was reasonably priced in English and not a sequel. So this is the one, A Winter's Promise by Christelle Davos. This is one that I kind of want to read in French afterwards when I'm more fluent in French and can understand it better. After I read it in English, I think it would be much easier to understand the French. What I know about this is that a YA fantasy about a girl who can travel through mirrors and read the past of objects. So she has a few magical powers. And as it says here, Ophelia slowly realizes that she's a pawn in a political game that will have far-reaching ramifications. My fantasy with political things, a lot of magic, and I'm really excited that this was the one that was picked. So another one that I got was Fireborn by Rosario Monda. This is one that I'm reading right now. As I'm filming this, I'm on page 110. And this is about two kids, a boy and a girl, who grew up on an orphanage. The boy is kind of the son of the ruler of the old empire that was overthrown, and the girl, her family was killed by that other government. So there would be kind of rivals, but they met each other when they were kids, so they're friends right now, and they are dragon riders. So this book starts with a dragon riding tournament, and it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of dragons and just very fast-paced so far. I also bought two thrillers. The first one is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I've read The Silent Patient by him and I really enjoyed it. And this one is apparently has a secret society thing in a university, but from what I've heard other people say, it doesn't focus too much on the secret society aspect. But it is about a professor at Cambridge, and there's a therapist who thinks the guy killed someone, and then she's going to try to figure it out. There's a group of women called the Maidens. I don't want to read too much of the synopsis, I'm just trying to look for keywords here. The next thriller that I got was actually published last year and is The Other People by CJ Tudor. I've read two of her books before, The Chalkman, or just Chalkman, not sure, and The Hidden Something, and The Hiding Place. And I enjoyed both more Chalkman than The Hiding Place. But this, when I read what it says here on the back, I was very excited. It has a lot of text, but they're like key things. I didn't read everything. But apparently the other people are this group of people that you can call to ask them to kill people, kill someone else. So it says here that they help you find justice. And then there's a question, what sort of justice? And the answer is, that depends on the individual. But our first ethos is a punishment that fits the crime. And then the question, can I request to have someone killed? If your request is acceptable, and unless there are exceptional circumstances, we fulfill all requests. I'm really in the mood for thrillers lately, so... And the last one that I got, I know that I said that I was excited about all of these books, which is true, I'm excited for all of the books, but this one is the one that is the highest in my priority list. Is the one that I've been waiting for a long time, and I've seen the reviews, and even the bad reviews make me want to read it. Even the bad reviews made it sound like something that I would love, and it is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. The Martian is one of my favorite books of all time. I have not read Artemis, but everyone says it's not good, so I don't mind, I'll skip it. But all the reviews that I've seen for this one, and it wasn't a lot because I'm trying to avoid spoilers as much as I can, but all the reviews that I saw say this book is really good. A lot of people say that it's a lot, like it's very similar to The Martian, and it relies on the same formula, which for me makes it sound really good. I would love to reread The Martian with a new twist and new characters, but the same humor that I really loved then. And I'm just really curious about this one. I have no idea what the plot is, and I'm not going to look. But it is sci-fi, and that's all I know. I don't know if you read any of these books and what you thought about them, and which ones do you think that I'm going to love as well. Remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much for joining me. Bye.